Yesterday, as you have seen in your research, I did not address the 4 Kantian questions. Let's do it in 5 minutes. In my class today, I already did it. The point here is that we all of you, live in the Kantian horizon. You think and behave ethically, sometimes, as Kant imagined. And you think is self-evident. But it's not. Before Kant, none of that was self-evident. And I will explain you. The first question, what can I know? Asked Kant. What can I know? Until his time, 700 something, no? Everybody could say anything. I met Jesus yesterday, Allah greeted me, things like that. Everything had the same quality. Certainly there were science, there were philosophy, but they had in no way any special status of knowledge. Everything, every utterance was the same. So Kant asked, how can I stop this? So he became the father of modern science. You have to ask a question first, what can I know? What is real? And his point here is to show you, I know. All your knowledge is accompanied by I know. Whatever you say and claim objectivity is still I say. This is a room. No. I say it is a room. This is real. No. I think it's real. This so the thing itself, that would be the truth, the objectivity. We never know. We know only the thing itself, in itself, as I said, for us. So that means, what means this practically? Firstly, somebody tells me he met Jesus, I say, okay, the asylum is a brick. Go there. There are many Jesus down there. No, how can he know? There is no way to know. You can take it on faith, yes. The difference between science and religion is there. But you cannot know that there is a God. You can only believe it. And if there, all your knowledge, even your scientific knowledge, is always a knowledge you have set up, you have to defend, you have to acknowledge your criteria, etc. Also, reality is not something given and there, but something created in your perception of the material of the world. It's not to say that the world is created through perception, as some people claimed, so-called idealists. It is always an interplay of perception and material, the phenomenon showing itself to you. All right, that was very important, but it was not self-evident. What is an I? Also the philosophers, 3, let me just name 3, Hegel, Heidegger, Deleuze. These are philosophers who attacked this I, the subject of knowledge. This I is a fiction in itself. There is no I. I know. Who is this who knows? You as drunk? Maybe it's the drunken I. So there might be other ways of defining knowledge and reality. And Kant was still in this dualistic mood of real, unreal, knowledge, non-knowledge. He has not raised to the Hegelian dialectic to the three, knowledge, non-knowledge, and something better than the two knowledges we had already. We will come to that. Still, this is the first question you ask when you write a paper. Ask yourself, how can I know? Is there any way I can defend my thesis? And be aware that even if you, because I tell you so, don't use the first person in your work, so you let the table speak and not you. It is still you letting the table speak. Secondly, what can I hope for? Second philosophical question, the future horizon. This hope is an immensely important issue of the human condition. Let's put it this way. You would not get up in the morning without hope. Some kind of hope, at least. Maybe the hope that this day will not be as bad as the last day. I'm not saying you're hoping to win the lottery, you know. I hope you're not so stupid to play the lottery. But who knows? But the hope, the future horizon, that there is a future, there is something still ahead, is for the human condition important. Crucial, not just important. And then, what should I do? It's a question of ethics, which is not the same as morality. Morality is kind of the, little ethics, the ethics of the rules, and parents teaching, things like that. The ethics itself is the big question of what should I do that I live in a good life, that I live in a good world. And as you know, Kant's answer was the categorical imperative. And he said, it is sublime that all human beings can understand the categorical imperative right away. The bus driver as well as a university professor. I kind of doubt that, because the naming, calling it categorical imperative, was not the good mood, should get better PR guy here. But it is a rule we know in many cultures. Don't do what you don't want others to do to you. This rule has many names. This is the rule. If you don't want others to lie to you, then don't lie yourself. And if you lie, then you have to expect that everybody else is lying too. And good luck living in a world where everybody lies. It is a world in which you have no security whatsoever. You act on lies of other people. But insofar, these three things is something we take for granted. Until the categorical imperative, there was the ethics of Aristotle, who wrote the first ethics in the history of philosophy, and said also it is a sad day that I have to write down something you all should know. Why should I write down how to behave, how to live rightfully? You are a human being, you should be aware of that. But his answer was, ethics is about good life, and that is certainly right. Kant would say the same thing. But what a good life is, everyone has a different opinion about that. So there is no way that you can have rules or laws of a good life. The best you can have in one way is to say what is not a good life. So the so-called human rights, they tell you not to be killed in your own home. That is a part of, that is not a good life. So we know in many ways what is not a good life. But there are so many gray areas, so many ambiguous questions there. What do you do there? I thought of that, use prudence. Be smart. Think about it. Delay your actions. All this kind of thing. Even the action of non-action is one of the prudence, moving. Better not act. Just stay there. Or as Schopenhauer said, all evil in the world comes from people who cannot stay at home. Right, look at you guys. But what I think is still interesting, firstly, this was meant to show you on what kind of level at least your master thesis or dissertation has to be. On the level of such kind of questions. You should and cannot write in this school just an analysis of anything. You have to think about the methods you are calling in to help you out if you don't know anything. Because the method is, it's a way, it's a path to truth. With methods, you can discover things you would not see when you just analyze. Because just analyze means you stay in your little world and then you analyze something. The methods ask you, but how about looking this way? And how about looking there? And the fourth question, and that is that all other three are leading to this last and most important question, who am I? What does it mean to be a human being? So all your work you do, everything, is actually led by this question. And it also says, there is no human being yet. You are just a project. You are just something you are thrown into the world, yes. Some with more luck than others. But then you have to work on becoming a human being. And it's a good guess that none of you will ever reach anything very different from what we are now. That could sound cynical or something like that, but it is not meant like that. It's also hopeful. Luckily, we are not human beings yet. All the bad things we see in the world, these are still the barbarians in us. Whatever. So it is a hopeful thing that humanity is as Derrida said, yet to come. It's humanity to come. Derrida, that was in his last study, he started to become affirmative in his life. In the end, all his life he refused to be affirmative because he had a mother who was extremely optimistic, vegetarian mother, extremely optimistic and full lust of life, and etc., and did not understand a word what her son was doing. She said, Jacques, and they pay you for that? So, Jacques was always trying to prove to her that being critical and negative, that makes you a living and is even true. But at the end of his life, and he got cancer and all that, he understood the power of affirmation. And yes, and use the to come for nearly every phenomenon. The Messiah to come, the democracy to come, the human being to come. So there is first, you understand it's not there, but there's still the hope that to come is possible. Okay, we are, so far, that is what is kind of self-evident to us. Again, as philosopher, I know where constructed it. I have been there, and you get a glimpse of that. So there are constructions, and there are many ways of constructing a worldview, and many cultures have done it. But our culture, the Western culture, has one thing in common, what we call now phenomenology. On your paper, you see. Phenomenology is the basic of everything. Every scientist, every discoverer, everyone who has done anything good in life did it as phenomenologist. Meaning, allowed self-criticism, intellectual honesty, took back all his biases and professed knowledge, and opened up to the world of phenomena, and that means everything which shows itself to you, and tried to read, to listen what these phenomena are telling you. Because only then you have the chance for the new. Only then that you not already come with your knowledge, sondern acknowledge, I know that I don't know, and therefore I know more than everybody claims to know something, as it is said in Plato. You know, this is thing. And then it does not matter of left or right or up and down. It does not matter. The other division, the only way how we could both live together here in Saas-Fee was first that he allowed me carte blanche. He allowed me to do whatever I want. That's why it will not help you to complain about me with the president or whatever. It's no way, you know. It ends here. Always comes back to it. So, we are all phenomenologists. The president, Paulo Knill, for example, I met at a conference where he was playing his instrument. And I can still remember that every third word of him was breathtaking. Breathtaking this, breathtaking that. Which I thought was very kitschy. Okay, here I gave you a few philosophers and I gave you little quotes. I personally believe if you understand one quote of one key quote of a philosopher, you understand his or her own full philosophy. So people coming to me and say, oh, I cannot talk about Freud until I have read the entire works of Freud, I also tell them where the asylum is. Not in Brick, in Zurich at the university. Go there, play the scholar if you like. Chances are you will never understand Freud. But if you understand one sentence of that, which is harder than it sounds, and it's also not a one-time thing, you read it again later, as I do. These quotes I have seen for forever. But every time I actually look at it, oh, I see something. So maybe because I'm very experienced in the art of forgetting. So in the moment I'm not doing Kung Fu anymore, now we are 2.5 men, which is much more fun. So when I see it tonight, I have forgotten all of you. No? Okay, Heidegger, Merleau-Ponty, Baudrillard, Lyotard, Foucault, Levinas, Deleuze. They are not actually different kind of schools in some way. Ich meine, Foucault und Baudrillard, nicht als Lothringer will tell you because he was together with both of them. Nicht? They kind of hated each other. Nicht? Was it nicht Baudrillard who wrote a book say, forget Foucault? Yeah. I said, forget Foucault. And it was Foucault always saying to everybody, forget Baudrillard. You know, so, and Foucault got the chair at the Collège de France, no? Next to the Pantheon, and poor Baudrillard had to be in Claire Denis outside, you know, where they put the crazies like Lyotard and they got. But it was a very open university for French taste, pretty EGS-like. So, also these people, or Merleau-Ponty, but I could have brought in Jean-Paul Sartre too, especially because he comes back now. He and Merleau-Ponty were once friends and then enemies and so on. But it means nothing. But why does it start with Heidegger? Heidegger, the philosopher who established modern phenomenology, is actually Edmund Husserl. And Heidegger was his student. But it was Heidegger who became, his being in time, the key philosopher of the 20th century, at least from the German days. And Husserl called Heidegger the philosophical, the phenomenological child. So I'm starting with a child. And this child gave us, for example, what is such a phenomenological discovery? Being in the world. That there is no subject and no object, so what really is being in the world. And in this being in the world, you sometimes call yourself a subject, sometimes somebody turns you into an object, whatever. But it is the process in between subject and object, which really is the being in the world, which is really what is happening. In a phenomenological view, if you are not coming in and saying, I am sent by God to be the shepherd of being and whatever, nicht? I am the one who has to take care of everything. So look how you really live. You are not the person who has just eaten. You are just someplace. The process as such is the only important thing. Aristotle once called this dynamis, dynamic, before interpretation. As before any interpretation, there's one phenomenological thing showing itself, and that is a process, the dynamic process itself. And how you call it, what do you do with it? Then you start be different and fighting and whatever. How does the phenomenon show itself to us? Needs us, our perception, as an active participant, but as an extremely generous one. Not coming in and saying, okay, I want to make a business deal with you. So I'm here to listen. Like the phony American presidents always coming to Europe in the beginning, and we are here to listen, since they are not knowing in advance. Okay, any questions to phenomenology? What I'm doing now, because is I know that I will do something teachers are forbidden. I will put you on the spot. I will just take somebody to answer or die, whatever. So, anybody courageous enough so that I don't have to do it? No? Okay, you start. Give me your name first again.
My name is Cameron Murphy.
Cameron Murphy, okay. So, do you have any concerns, questions to this basic concept of phenomenology?
No, I really like it, actually. I like what you're saying about being generous in terms of being there to listen.
When is it something, when you work, what is your field?
I come from environmentalism, actually.
Yeah.
So
that is, the whole ecological crisis is only without people being open-minded enough, and not just in the beginning when I said a philosophical question, said no, it's a question of administration and things like that. But no administration cares if they don't get the push saying you are ruining our lives, guys, and you have no right to that. And that is a phenomenological judgment. The other judgment is already, we will take care of it somehow. There's this kind of escaping that. But the interesting part is really that you don't have to call yourself a phenomenologist. There are schools of phenomenology. I'm considered one of the 10 leading phenomenologists in the world, was invited by the Japanese government to teach them something. It was hopeless. They were not able, they only could repeat. It was really so interesting to see these people who have read the same stuff I have read and could in their papers just echo them. They could not apply them. And some of them was more accurate than the other. Unfortunately, their leading philosopher gave a paper on Heidegger, and I had to tell him, for somebody who does not understand the word of Heidegger, it was a great paper, because it was so bad. After that, I had really to fear the samurai. No, it's ninjas. No. But the good thing about that is, how does he, what are the Japanese doing? They blowing up their atomic things, because they have not looked into it right enough. They made economical stuff, which is fine, but which is not the full phenomenon. Because that is really to understand. It's not so, phenomenology is not just describing what you see with an open mind. That is a phenomenology used in sociology. Alfred Schütz was the German guy who brought this to America. And ethno-methodology is one of the ways of being a phenomenologist. That is, like Margaret Mead, you are going to tribes and live with them and learn about them by living with them. Unfortunately, we found out that Margaret Mead came with a lot of biases and put it in her book instead of really listening to them. But still, there was this, but again, the phenomenon, Heidegger says in Being in Time, and that is a key sentence you should all write down. The phenomenon is what you cannot see at first glance. Because otherwise, it would be totally not understandable. Why are we not having known much earlier, much more about our lifestyles and etc.? Because the phenomenon at first glance, and with the short attention span of today's people, first glance is already a lot you get. Mostly they look away. But the first glance is not enough. Why not? Why is the first glance, don't ask you, Barbara, why is a phenomenon, when you look at this table, look at me, why would, you cannot say you know the phenomenon Schirmacher because you look at me.
Because I probably have a concept of Schirmacher before and it is lost.
Yeah, but even if you did not have the concept, or even if you have the concept, but you put it into bracket and say, okay, I have this concept, but let it put aside.
But
Just look at me. Look at my blue sweater, for example, nicht? And my golden glasses, whatever you see. Also,
connect all the blue sweater and the glasses with the things I have.
Yeah, no, but you still know that you know nearly nothing about me. Because all what you don't know about me, for example, my backside, the other side, everything you cannot see, is still necessary to understand the full phenomenon. So the first glance is not enough. It is a starting point, no question about it. But then you have to go around the table, you have to look under them, you have to see what is there, what is the context of that. Only for such a simple phenomenon like a table. And then you have to consider all the possible ways how you can perceive a table or a Schirmacher. And that is the other thing you must know in phenomenology. That is the perspectives, the variation of perspectives. Our first perspective, and our most treacherous one, is the real. That we assume what we see here is real. And we give the real a kind of as a bias, a kind of positive spin and say, okay, it's real. That's already a lot. Who want not to have a real table instead of an imagined table? No? But that is the first thing in phenomenology you have to cross out. You have the real and you cross the real. Means the real is there, is one perspective, but of many. Now go on and find different ones. Well, and find, do the easy way, say first real, what's the opposite to it? Imaginary. Okay. Now, if this would be, look at me, Barbara, if I would be imaginary, how would I change imaginary in your view? Right? It is why phenomenology is very detailed. Right? You would now imagine that I'm not here, that you are just dreaming me up. And then you would see things, the real, in the perspective of the real, you have not noticed. Okay? The third one, lots of things about the poetic one. Think of me as a figure in a Baudrillard, nicht Baudrillard, what's the poem? Baudelaire poem. Or the Mallarmé. Or what I really have been as an actor in a movie. That's all possible perspectives on the phenomenon B and others. And none of them, and that is the important part, none of them is better than the others. They're only what's that, good side, only honor is that you do your best to describe it in the perspective you have chosen. Don't cheat. Cheating would be a possible perspective. How is Schirmacher as a cheating son of a bitch? Nicht? Is that would also be an interesting thing. Or this table is a kind of cheat in itself, stolen from some good tool maker and made it in China, probably. in that. So there is many ways to vary this views. And then in Husserl came, it looked quite different like he had an Anzug, Virginia, a suit, and what's that? Thank you. Came in a big audience hall in Freiburg University and said, give me a topic. Give me a topic, he said to his students. And somebody said, marriage. Okay. And then Husserl started for 90 minutes to describe all the possible perspectives on the phenomenon of marriage. And then he said, put this in a data bank. And I'm not lying, he used the word data bank. So that everyone who wants ever to know what marriage is, just looks in there and will know. That's also one of the weaknesses of phenomenology, that he really believed that if they look at it and if they describe it in variation, if they find what Husserl called an eidos, a kind of, because this variation will, after a while, show you something. In English, I think you call it gestalt. You know, there is something which fits together. There is some Schirmacher as gestalt in there. It's gestalt, no? In the psychology. As an eidos. It's an idea of Schirmacher. In is multitude of life. There's still something which binds this together. And let Schirmacher be different from Mr. Thomas. It's Thomas.
Yes, but by kind of deeper look, we are adding a lot of that. I mean, for example, if I'm looking at you at first glance, maybe I can know something about you, but at the second glance, maybe you're looking like my father. Maybe
thank you very much.
I will add a lot of knowledge that I have already.
Did I tell you?
My experience and everything. It's also kind of way of deforming the...
No, but the point here is, we're totally right. But the point here is that you are not thinking your second glance, me as your father, that is the truth about me. So it's just one perspective. And then you try to fill this perspective. You find out, can this be true? And you will find out, I'm not a father material at all. I might be your murderer, but not your father. Or maybe your father is a murderer. Yeah, okay. It's not murdering you. So it is a... you understand?
My father.
So you ask, right, then but does not mean that your question, your perspective was useless. No. It was very useful to see it's empty, comes up empty, or only a little bit in there. Then you go on to the next perspective. Maybe then you come to a perspective which suddenly fills itself. Like beauty, no? Or ugliness. Let's go with ugliness. No? It's easier to find the ugly people. Yeah, no, it's not true, because between ugliness and beauty, we know it's a kind of interchange here too. So, yeah, also, the really point again is not to judge, postpone judgment. Stay in the descriptive mode as long as you can and vary what you describe. And that is good news for you guys. You have to write long papers. Even if you're an MA student, you have to write like 45, 50 pages paper, and as a Ph.D., you have to write up to 150 pages. It's a big house, many rooms, many perspectives possible in there. And you hurt yourself if you cut them out, censor them. Don't censor them, let them in. But be honest. Try really an effort. If you like this perspective or not, don't care. It can give you something. It can give you some unexpected rewards. That's why our whole program is kind of based on this idea. Also the program means that I force you in groups. No? I force you to take classes you would not take on your own. No? Because you want to be a filmmaker, you want to be a writer, you want to be a philosopher, and now I give you somebody from a different field, and you must go there. Or you, whatever I do then with you, you will not go there. Anyway, but the meaning is, my experience here is, what I knew before, because I was always kind of multi, is that you are certainly learn sometimes the most in classes. You would never thought you would learn something. Also my greatest example in the school is Elia Suleiman, Who has heard of Elia Suleiman? Suleiman. Sounds so Muslim to you guys, huh? You never heard, but you have heard of him.
Yes, I have.
Yes. He is the leading Palestine filmmaker. Has won one of the major prizes in Cannes with a balloon with the face of Arafat going over Jerusalem. So, but he has not done many movies because certainly to get money to do a movie was kind of hard for him. So, and the students came to me from Korea and other places and said, why should I go there? No, I don't want to go there. No, there is this other important professor I need for my thesis. So shut up, go to Suleiman. And later they came and said, amazing. I never thought I would learn so much. Why? Suleiman did not have suddenly more movies, but he is an extremely smart guy. So whatever they did in class, I don't know, I was not there. Only saw the movie in the night and then we had a discussion about it. But it could not be that he showed movie all time in class. That was not the case. Like, unfortunately, some filmmakers do. No? One movie in the other. The worst guy was Claude Lanzmann with Shoah. Of his 18 hours, he showed 12 hours of Shoah. No? Shoah is worth to see for 12 hours. This is a 12-hour movie. It's one of the greatest documentary on the Holocaust, or documentary at all in the field. And you are really ashamed that you understand German, because before they come with the subtitles, you have already heard them speak German. And you don't want that. You want, that is not my language, it's Chinese, please. They are the ones, the bad guys. The North Korean, right? No, it is something. In Suleiman, he will be back this year in August, and I'm sure it will happen again. It happens three times already. That there, somebody came, you did not expect anything, you were angry, you went into the class and said, why is Wolfgang forcing me to do that? And then you understood suddenly, because I would never have done it on my own. And this guy has a perspectives on life from the Palestine experience. One of his films is on the frontier from Palestine and Israel, and shows nothing else than a woman coming from Palestine and a guy from Israel, and the only way to meet is on a parking space. And you see the soldiers nearby, the border soldiers in there, and then these two people are sitting both in their car, you know, and it is still really Romeo and Julia in Palestine. And it's one of the saddest films you ever saw. Yes?
In your opinion, how many glances does it take for your students who said, no, we don't want to go see Suleiman? With how many glances did they decide that they did not want to go and they were that reluctant?
Absolute, only a first glance. That is a glance of celebrity culture. I mean, we are shamelessly exploiting celebrity culture. No? So I always said, nobody can teach at the school who has not as many Google hits than I have. I have now, without doing anything about it, I will soon, around 9,000. So you don't get more. If you have less than 9,000 Google pages to your things, you have to wait. I told Lev Manovich, when he asked me if he can come teaching for 6-7 years ago, I said, become famous first, then you can come teach. Now he teaches for the...
Yeah, but
so that is the first glance, you understand? The glance saying, the typical glance of the newspaper, the headlines, this kind of thing. For these people who are not in the film world, they would certainly be happy to see the cinema of resistance, that is the title of his class, to go in there. But all the other guys, Suleiman, who is Suleiman? And then even when he's in there, I'm not saying that he gets them the first day. No. It might be that their resistance about resistance is still there. But the point is that this Palestine-Israeli story is such, not only such a shameful thing in our world, that is not like crazy, non-solvable it looks, no? Because both sides, the problem is both sides feel they are in the right in there. So what is an artist to do, a filmmaker? To make this, and he is not one-sided. He is not kind of a political activist style thing, etc. So it is really reaching a human dimension of that, in which we can see our own problems reflected. And that, sometimes, did I make any mistake? Yeah, I think one guy I will not name. One time I invited, it was a curator, one of the most biggest name in curating, and he was an empty shell. And at least he understood that he was an empty shell. I didn't even have to tell him, because that was his curating policy. I'm an empty shell, and I bring in some artist to fill it. So I'm not doing nothing else than being for the artist. And that was fine. And he brought an artist, Pareno, you might know. But this artist was so arrogant, he only sent our students an email instead of coming here to show his work or to have a discussion. And the two guys were wandering around here in Saas-Fee, filming each other for an art project they can later sell somewhere. But this guy, I think he regrets to be such a stupid person. Because I know a lot of people, and my people know a lot of people, and his reputation is seriously harmed by his Saas-Fee experience. But that was the only one. I think all the others coming here were worth being with. That is the point. Okay? And worth be first glance because of that what you can Google about them. The second glance is when you meet them. The third glance is when you get inspired by them, when something clicks with your own work, and so on. And then you are going really into it. And sometimes it's just a pleasant experience, and you are not really into this person. But you learn from all classes something. Also insofern, the whole program is phenomenology. I have took a lot of pain not to allow one school of thought to take over. Even if many people are from deconstruction and Derrida and so on, they are also the opposition, Zizek, but you, mostly in Delanda, you have here, his reading of Deleuze is totally not anarchistic. Deleuze is for him a scientist. Something many Deleuzians would kind of throw up about it. These are the anarchistic ones. Throw up about it. And still, Manuel, as some of you will see, and you will see the evening, we just made a deal with his evening lecture, is a very convincing guy, and will, whatever your opinion has been before, it will change. And that is what Plato did. Plato, philosophy was created against opinion. Opinion, that was what people, like the political side and all that, philosophy was a love for wisdom. You did not want to know your own opinion. There is, a wise person knows there are many opinions. And they can change, and you should not take them so seriously, etc. So we call this truth, but not truth as another opinion. That's why we're always so adamant to call truth a path to truth, or the fidelity, as what you called it. He said it's a path to truth. It's not about reaching it, keeping it, selling it, all this kind of thing. Yeah, I always think of Semper Fi. Ich see. Yeah, because you know what they say: best friends and worst enemies. That's our professors. They can be your best friends and they can be your worst enemies. They are not lukewarm, none of them. They're all fighters. They went through many lives. There must still be kung fu in my head, I see. No. But 2.5 men, tomorrow my mood will be lighter. Yeah. Yeah, please. Who is this person? Yeah. Somebody wanted to ask me? Yeah, please.
I do have a question. I'm not sure how to phrase it, but it has to do with phenomena that becomes excruciatingly painful to look at.
Yeah. Why should I answer? You answer, Jamie. Ira, whatever. Ira.
I'll take Ira.
Well, you didn't listen, huh?
No, I did listen. I'm trying to make a question out of what wasn't a question yet.
Yes, you're right.
You asked me to answer. I can only answer.
Okay. Then first make a question, then answer your question. They're very good.
Is a fair question, when is it allowable to turn away from a phenomenon because it's painful?
No. The
Okay.
question is, when is it allowed to be painful? When are you allowed to say, this is actually painful?
Immediately.
Oh, okay.
You
That-
can't
is
not.
that
You don't
not-
have a choice.
Is that not an obstacle in the phenomenological process?
Yes.
It's a huge obstacle.
Ugh. It's part of the process. That's part of your. What's one apprehension? If it's immediately painful, that's your first apprehension. That's what you start with. It's immediately painful.
Yeah.
You don't stop there, but that's where you start. And maybe it's allowable to stop somewhere because it's so painful. That's a different question, which is what I thought you wanted to ask.
No, that's okay.
But the first thing you have is it's painful. That's what you have.
Yeah, but the point,
And then you go.
the more hidden point and phenomenological point is the perspective within the perspective,
Right.
generated by it, so to speak, is that it is the painful perspective, which is also the most fruitful. So if it's easy to look, if it's easy to see it, that is okay, that is possible perspective. But only there, when you actually start hesitating, don't want to go there, then you go because you know it might be the abyss might look back, so to speak.
But I don't.
What?
For me, I don't think that's available as a universal principle. So I'll take that. So when you say that, I think of that, and I think that I want to.
Okay. You cannot make this judgment and stay a phenomenologist. Later, as a dialectic, hermeneutic, deconstruction, then you can make such judgment. As a phenomenologist, that's what Husserl once said, you have the vision of God. And for God, every phenomenon has the same quality. There is not something to prefer or to object to, so just to be revealed. And as a phenomenologist, you kind of trying to be the God, which does not exist, but you're trying to do that. And really, for Husserl, it was like you sit here and you look, and then you look again, and then you look this way, and then you look this way. And then you look at stuff which is hateful or whatever, and you record it as hateful and whatever. You record your disgust. You record your hesitation or that you want to look away because that is what this phenomenon is teaching you. If you would really turn away, this lesson is lost. And you take away from the phenomenon something important to it. Later, in dialectics, pro and con, or the hermeneutics, you can consider the historical context, or the deconstruction, you take everything and build something new out of it, after you destructed it. That are different ways of dealing with the world. There you are actively dealing with it. In the phenomenological state, you are not judging. You are non-judgmental.
Yes, but how we know that true is true? I mean, how
it's not about the truth. Sorry, it's not about the truth. The truth is just a perspective. You can ask, certainly, who is the true Schirmacher? And then you give me what you think is my truth. But then you have to go and find what is the untrue Schirmacher? And that is what is the Schirmacher who is either this or that? Who is the Schirmacher who is actually the world champion of car racing and his name is Schumacher? Because that's the only way I can make Americans spell my name, I say, oh, I'm like Schumacher. Okay, actually. Okay, but I heard, yes, I see you. I heard you had, Poppy?
I want to know in your words, where do you think Heidegger's philosophy of phenomenology differentiates itself from Husserl's?
Husserl went through quite a lot of changes in his phenomenology. And he was, the main philosopher for Husserl was Descartes. And Descartes is the father of modern mathematics, of measuring things. And Husserl wanted to make philosophy like science. There's even an article to philosophy as science. So many of the analytic philosophers kind of claim they're also phenomenologists because they are going to this early Husserl phase. Then, secondly, he became a kind of idealistic Descartes. So he wanted to find the eidos, as I said, what is marriage? Give me an answer in not 5 words or less, but in 50 words or less. So give me something concise. Don't talk for an hour about it. But in phenomenology, you have to talk for an hour about it if you want to be truthful. Not truthful, but skilled. Let's put it this way. Professional. That's my way of truthful. Be professional about it. Don't know already something. If you find that an intuition, what it might be in the end. But you go through it and see if you might be wrong. Right? Like you are a fighter. No? You consider many possibilities. The sniper up there, the unit here, so. No? Let's see who is called killed first. If you don't do that, then you might overlook the possibility that this kid there is actually not, it's a kid with a bomb girdle. That's the reason why I'm always very, very not trusting these stories about Afghanistan. They killed women and children. It's terrible. But have a closer look how these women and children looked after they killed them. Don't they look like an exploding bomb now? They started this in Vietnam, they sent nurses which had a, hand grenade in their vagina. Yeah, that was the first way of being a suicide bomber. But the American soldiers, they're certainly very open to get bombed in this fashion. Yes?
Cool. I had a question that also goes back for the pain. In order to accumulate all the different perspectives of something? Let's say even if, you know, your first perspective is extremely painful, do you need to force yourself to view it from a pleasant manner or from a neutral manner? Do you need to accumulate all the diverse variations no matter? So you kind of have to force yourself in some of those senses.
Also, for example, nicht sadomasochistic perspective. Please do it sado and do it maso. Maybe do it sado maso too. You know, I always thinking when I saw Kung Fu how David Carradine died, nicht, in Bangkok. That's a very sad story. But it's a sad story about somebody seeking the ultimate pleasure. This stupid idea. Maybe one of you has some experience how to get the better orgasm by getting nearly shocked. No, I don't want to know. It is a perspective, would be a phenomenological experience. And people like Bataille, they went in Paris, they went like in a room like this, sitting around like this, and here in the middle, a guy hanged himself. And they were sitting there and wanted to see death in its reality. And as you probably know from the medieval ages, because that was their main spectacle, no? There was all the shit and everything, you know, it was death in its real face. Losing all your whatever, bowels and whatever in there. And that is one of the things I really dislike about Bataille. As much as I dislike about Foucault, that he had to go to the bathrooms in San Francisco, you know, and was a lesser boy there. What I hate about is not the feelings, so that as philosophers, they thought it was necessary for them to go there in person, to do that what they could easily have imagined, equally honest, by sitting there and saying, if I see it with my own eyes, then it's more worse than when I just have the perspective on it. That was not a philosopher's decision. That was a fearful human being thinking might be wrong about death, or the gay bathrooms in San Francisco. Everybody knows, everybody can imagine that, you know. You don't would understand that normal people might want to entertain themselves. Our philosophers are not born to be, I talk about the born philosophers, we're all born philosophers, born and trained to do everything they can think. Because thinking is their action in itself. So there are two things I have against them, but it doesn't matter. You don't, as I said, you don't have to respect or love a philosopher. You have still to try if you can see what they have seen. And then only if you can see, if you can, the perspective they claim they have, and you go there and look and you see it, and then it becomes your perspective. You are the proof of truth, and not so. You don't take it on authority. That's also in phenomenology, for example. Heidegger, being in time, he never really wanted to quote anybody. So I'm not allowing you to do that because it violates the academic appearance I need in your appearance. But it does not quote, because what I'm writing here is something I can prove, have proven through my own experience. Okay, I can tell you that Descartes said the same thing once. But so what? Now it's me seeing that.